underwater volcano in Antarctica triggers 85,000 earthquakes. So it's not only the underwater volcano that we had recently erupting in the area of near Fiji in the Pacific. We also have here the underwater volcano of Antarctica. We have discovered already over 147 volcanoes in Antarctica. Some areas of Antarctica are believed to be supervolcanoes the size of Yellowstone. We also have mantle plumes under Antarctica. Now, underwater volcano, 85,000 earthquakes. The swarm of 85,000 earthquakes were the strongest seismic outburst ever recorded in Antarctica. The long dormant underwater volcano near Antarctica, one of them has woken up, and it's triggered a swarm of 85,000 earthquakes. So this is amazing. The swarm began August 2020 and subsided by November of that year, is the strongest earthquake activity ever recorded in the area, and the quakes were likely caused by a finger of hot magma poking into the crust, new research finds. In other words, it's a mantle plume. They said there have been similar intrusions in other places on Earth, but this is the first time we have observed it there. This is what the study co-author Simone Kessa, seismologist at GFC, German Research Center for Geoscience in Potsdam, said. Normally, she said, these processes occur over geological timescales as opposed to over the course of a human lifespan. So in a way, we are lucky to see this. Okay, instead of being over a long time span, it's happened in a few days, 85,000 earthquakes. The swarm occurred around the Orca Seamount, an inactive volcano that rises about 900 meters, 2,950 feet from the seafloor at the Bransfield Strait. It's a narrow passage between South Shetland Islands and the northwest tip of Antarctica. In this region, the Phoenix tectonic plate is diving beneath the continental Antarctic plate, creating a network of fault zones stretching some portions of the crust and opening rifts in other places, according to a 2018 study in the journal Polar Science. Now, scientists at the research station at King George Island, one of the South Shetland Islands, were the first to feel the rumblings of the small quakes. Word got out soon back to Cessna and his colleagues around the world, some of whom were collaborating on separate projects with the researchers on the island. The team wanted to understand what was going on, but the King George Island is remote with just 2 seismic stations nearby. So the researchers used data from those seismic stations as well as data from 2 ground stations for the global satellite navigation system to measure ground displacement. So they used GPS to measure the ground displacement. They also looked at data from more far-flung seismic stations and from satellites circling Earth that use radar to measure shifting at ground level, the study authors reported April 11 in the journal Communication, Earth and Environment. The nearby stations are rather simple, but they were good for detecting the tiniest earthquakes. More distant stations, meanwhile, use more sophisticated equipment and can thus paint a more detailed picture of the larger quakes. By piecing these data together, the team was able to create a picture of underlying geology that triggered this massive earthquake swarm. The 2 largest quakes in the series were magnitude 5.9, October 2020, and magnitude 6 quake in November. So as you can see, they were not at all small. After the November quake, seismic activity waned. The quake seemed to move the ground on King George Island around 4.3 inches, one study said. So that's pretty big, that's a lot. Only 4% of that displacement could be directly explained by the earthquake. The scientists suspect the movement of magma into the crust largely accounts for the dramatic shifting on the ground. Seska said, what we think is that the magnitude 6 earthquake somehow created some fractures and reduced the pressure of the magma dike. If there was an underwater eruption of the seamount, it likely happened at the time, but as of yet, there is no direct evidence of an eruption. To confirm that the massive shield volcano blew its top, scientists would have to send a mission to the strait to measure the bathymetry. or seafloor depth and compare it to historic maps, he said. This was originally from Live Science. Tia goes, please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.